This week on ANN, a Sabbath school teacher wins a European Bible knowledge competition.
The Adventist Church in northern Jamaica launches a campaign to help meet physical and social needs of youth.
And students in an Adventist academy in Brazil use their hair to make a difference for cancer patients.
These stories and more coming up.
This is ANN, a service of the Seventh-day Adventist World Church. Thanks so much for joining us this week.
First in the news, an Adventist from the Czech Republic was named champion in the first regional Bible trivia competition in Europe last month. Zdeněk Sovis was a member of the winning team in the European Championship in Bible knowledge. The tournament took place in the Parliament House of the Czech Republic. Sovis is a lay preacher and a Sabbath school teacher at a local Adventist church in the Central European nation. 25 teams represented various European countries including Bulgaria, Holland, and Ukraine. For winning first place, Sovis's team won a trip abroad in September.
Adventists in Jamaica launched a campaign earlier this month with a goal to raise $1 million for young people with the spinal condition scoliosis. The Save a Youth Foundation was established by the North Jamaica Conference to help youth with their social, physical, and psychological health. The foundation has already received pledges that amount to $400,000 to provide care to young people who have an abnormal curvature in their spine. The foundation has already identified a college student with scoliosis to be its first recipient. The Save a Youth Foundation aims to provide assistance to at least one person a year.
Adventists of all ages are collaborating to meet the practical needs of children with cancer in Sao Paulo, Brazil. Novo Tempo sent this report.
Durante a série de reportagens, vimos a campanha de arrecadação de cabelos feita por estudantes na zona sul de São Paulo e a surpreendente iniciativa de um adolescente que abriu mão de sua vaidade para contribuir com o projeto. Da ONG, as mechas tomam um novo rumo e são enviadas para um pequeno ateliê. Nós estamos no fundo de um salão de beleza na Lapa, zona oeste de São Paulo, e ao meu lado está a Fabi, uma das responsáveis pela produção das perucas, um trabalho manual e totalmente voluntário. Por semana são feitas aproximadamente 5 perucas. Aqui é possível encontrar vários modelos, para todos os gostos e estilos. E o melhor de tudo, é claro, a custo zero.
É uma causa muito justa, né, para as crianças que precisam, às vezes as mães não têm acesso a uma compra de peruca, então foi de coração mesmo que eu quis ajudar. Já tem uma média de 7 meses que a gente faz esse trabalho.
Na luta pela vida e por um cabelo novo, encontramos a Nakiele, uma entre milhares de pessoas acometidas pelo câncer. Na maioria dos casos, o tratamento é feito com a radioterapia e a quimioterapia. Daí o motivo da queda de cabelo e a necessidade de um novo visual. Foi o que aconteceu com a Nakiele, que aguarda um novo cabelo. E se eu te disser que a peruca está aqui, você vai experimentar ela hoje?
Ai, ai. Tô louca pra experimentar.
Pedido feito, pedido atendido. E aí, o que você achou?
Perfeito. Vou ter um cabelo de novo.
Corta no cabelo dela na cabeleireira e já faz conforme o rosto dela, tudo certinho. Surpreendeu aí?
Bom, é isso, Nakiele. Espero que você tenha gostado da surpresa. Voltou a sorrir de novo. A ação é um benefício de mão dupla. Faz bem tanto para quem recebe como para quem participa.
Students and administrators of an Adventist university in the U.S. state of Alabama recently partnered with a community activist in Kenya to meet emotional and spiritual needs of residents in the East African nation. 21 representatives from Oakwood University traveled to the cities of Nairobi and Mombasa to conduct projects for the For Him 2014 mission trip. The For Him volunteers visited orphanages and schools to prepare lunches, wash clothes, and read books to children. The volunteers also donated clothes to residents who live in extreme poverty. After the projects were completed, the volunteers participated in revival services at local Adventist churches, where they preached, sang, and read scriptures.
Bilingual pastors in the U.S. state of California recently created podcasts in their language or dialect to deliver the gospel to various communities in their state. A dozen Adventist pastors in Los Angeles began their programs under the direction of the Southern California Conference Communication Department in collaboration with Adventist World Radio. AWR provided training sessions to help the pastors establish their programs and guide them through the technical aspects of broadcasting a radio program. The primary goal of the podcast is to reach the local language communities targeted by each Adventist church in the Los Angeles area.
Representatives of the Southern Asia Language Group for the Church in North America recently met for the first time to organize ministries for Southern Asia congregations. Ernest Castillo, Vice President for Multilingual Ministries for the North American region, shared the goals of this ministry.
One of the main goals that we would like to have surfaced from this ministry or this advisory group is, number one, to proclaim the gospel of Jesus Christ specifically to this ministry group, the Southern Asian Ministry Group. And then number two, we would like to really find out exactly what we have in membership among this group here in the North American Division territory. And of course, as I already mentioned, to spread the gospel of Jesus Christ to this growing segment that we find here in our division territory.
A news organization known for compiling lists of the best organizations and institutions in the United States recognized an Adventist medical institution this week as the best in its region. The U.S. News & World Report named the Loma Linda University Medical Center the #1 hospital in the Inland Empire, a southern region in the U.S. state of California. Loma Linda University Medical Center's urology program was named the best in the nation. This is the 5th year in a row that the medical center has been ranked #1 in the region.
Adventist humanitarians are responding to the needs of hundreds of displaced residents in Nigeria as the region has grown more volatile due to the actions of the terrorist group Boko Haram. The Adventist Development and Relief Agency will provide more than 700 refugees with food and has trained more than 2,000 volunteers in disaster and emergency management through the ADRA Youth Honors Program.
And finally in the news this week, the Adventist Church has continued an ongoing prayer campaign for the safe release of more than 200 Nigerian schoolgirls who were kidnapped by Boko Haram in April. Adventists worldwide joined together on Twitter to pray for each girl by name. If you, your family, or local church would like to see the names of the girls so you can pray for their release, please visit adventist.org/united in prayer. And Ian, you and your wife are expecting a little girl in just a few months.
Yes, we are. Yeah.
Can you imagine this pain and the stress that these parents are going through?
No, I can't imagine it at all. That's a terrible thought to think that your little girl could be taken and you have no idea where she is.
Yeah. We'll continue to keep praying for them.
Yeah, definitely will keep them in prayer. Coming up, find out what's in the latest edition of Ministry Magazine.
I pray for wisdom from God to do really good in school and to do really good in piano and my piano lessons. I pray that all the people that are sick can become well, and whoever needs food should get food and be happy. Please pray 7 in the morning, 7 in the evening, and 7 days a week.
My eyes were closed, and I was waiting for something to happen. My son was dying in front of my very eyes, and I cried out again as I heard my wife praying beside me, God, have mercy on us and save my son.
I know I'm looking for something, but what? Peace? Purpose? Meaning? I'm still not sure. But I know it's going to take faith.
Welcome back. Derek Morris shares a preview of the current issue of Ministry Magazine.
The August issue of Ministry Magazine deals with a vitally important topic: the ministry of Jesus in the heavenly sanctuary. For the past 27 years or so, I've been talking to people about Jesus. I taught a class at Southern Adventist University on the life and teachings of Jesus. I've written some books like The Radical Teachings of Jesus and Radical Evidence. Why am I so passionate about this August issue? Well, sometimes people say, why do we need to focus on the sanctuary? Can't we just focus on Jesus? But the heavenly sanctuary ministry is all about Jesus, what He has accomplished for us and what He's doing right now in preparation for His soon return. So I want to encourage you to check out the August issue of Ministry, the special theme of the heavenly sanctuary. If you don't receive a hard copy, you can go to our website at ministrymagazine.org and you'll find the lead article there. Check out this important truth so that you can understand what Jesus is doing for us right now. Lots of important articles. You'll need your Bible with you because we want to give you a biblical foundation for this vital truth, the heavenly sanctuary ministry of Jesus. Again, it's in the August issue of Ministry, or go to our website at ministrymagazine.org. And let's rejoice in our awesome Savior.
Did you know the current Health Ministries Director for the Adventist Church was a member of the late President Nelson Mandela's cardiology team? The Adventist Communication Department produced the following video that sheds light on Dr. Peter Landless's life of service.
Adventists have been shown to live 7 to 9 years longer when compared with other people in California. It's now been expanded into a much bigger study called Adventist Health Study 2, which is looking at what are the factors that make a difference in lifespan of Seventh-day Adventists. It's been publicized in Time Magazine 1966, National Geographic 2005, US News and Today 2009, where one of the comments that was made, if you want to live longer, live like a Seventh-day Adventist. So the evidence is clear, it's all in. Seventh-day Adventists have a definite health advantage. I'm Dr. Peter Landless. I'm a physician. I have the basic MD qualifications as well as a specialty in family medicine, a specialty in internal medicine, a specialty in cardiology and a subspecialty in nuclear cardiology. The latter two have included fellowships in the American College of Cardiology, the American Society of Nuclear Cardiology, and being board certified in nuclear cardiology here in the United States. I had the singular privilege of serving on the Physicians Board of Healthcare for President Nelson Mandela. I was second in charge of the Department of Cardiology at our university at that time. He's a man who just shares the joy of loving people and wanting to see reconciliation take place. It was a wonderful, wonderful experience. We sometimes try to spread a message of good news. We must be the message of good news. Well, how do we do that? We do that by meeting the needs of people, by caring for them unconditionally, by having no strings attached to our relationships with individuals. It's by feeding people when they are hungry. It's by giving them clothing when they are naked. And that tends to move people to say, well, why would you do that? Well, the reason that we would do that is because that's what Jesus did.
Ian, I'm so happy to see this story. Dr. Peter Landless is quite a man of inspiration.
Yes, he is inspirational.
I am a product of Adventist education. You are too, aren't you?
Yes, I am, from kindergarten all the way to graduate school.
And I attended first grade through college. And this next story may be interesting for parents who are sending their children to Adventist schools and those that might be considering. That's right. Why? Because the Adventist learning community shared findings from a study that revealed the academic and social benefits of Adventist education.
Since the 1870s, Seventh-day Adventists have been making sacrifices for their children to receive a uniquely Adventist education. Although an Adventist education comes at an extra cost, the benefits are plain to see and last in eternity. 81% of over 50,000 SDA students surveyed report attending an Adventist school is the most important thing that has helped them develop their religious faith. Research data from Value Genesis establishes a direct and traceable correlation between attending an Adventist school and denominational loyalty. Those students who attended more years of Adventist elementary school are significantly more likely to remain members of the SDA Church. The same holds true for teenagers at Adventist Day Academies. The Value Genesis 3 research team has identified 29 major factors that influence students' faith. The results over the course of the last 2 decades have been startling. Consider these 3 factors. 38% of students reported their school's week of prayer impacted their spirituality very much. 1/3 said their Bible teacher and Bible school classes changed their faith for the better. And a whopping 82% of students at Adventist schools said their faith was heavily impacted by attending an Adventist school. Per dollar spent, the most effective way of strengthening our church and winning souls for the kingdom is by investing in an Adventist education. It's no wonder that 71% of Adventist students report Seventh-day Adventist schools are better than public schools, and that 83% of SDA students from 6th grade to 12th grade said they like their school. When it comes to life choices, students at Adventist schools also exhibit a substantial difference when compared to their non-Adventist peers. Adventist students are far from perfect, but their behavioral choices are extremely encouraging. An estimated 2/3 of American junior high school students admit to watching pornography, but approximately 80% of SDA students said they never watch pornography. While 46% of public high school students report having had sex, only about 15% of SDA high school students admit having had sexual intercourse. Additionally, over 90% of SDA students report not smoking or using other drugs. Again, Adventist students are far from perfect, but there's obviously moral value in attending an Adventist school. There are also clear academic advantages in attending an SDA school. Based on the Iowa Test of Basic Skill scores of 51,706 Adventist students, Adventist institutions scored higher than the national average in every subject category. This was the case in all grades and all school sizes, regardless of projected ability level. Taken as a whole, the academic performance of students enrolled at Adventist institutions is half a grade level higher than the national average. Amazingly, SDA academies in the North American Division have a 97.5% graduation rate, and 88.6% of these students also go on to college. We have much to improve upon as an educational system. We all know that, but the results from Value Genesis 3 and other studies are encouraging. Students at Adventist schools are more likely to be Adventist as adults, have strong Christian values, and perform better academically. Every day, parents, teachers, pastors, and church members across the world make sacrifices for Adventist education. It's this support that means an eternity with Jesus for so many. Please help Adventist education continue its 140-year tradition of bringing young people to Christ.
Still ahead, knowing what to put in an online storage application.
But up next, how mountains reveal the power of God.
Christ said it came down to a simple thing: love God with all you got and love your neighbor as yourself. That was the prayer of Christ, and I think that's got to be the message that we highlight. When he was in his last hours with his disciples, he said, Father, my one prayer is that they'll be one, like you and I are one. And I think about the denominations, I think about the religions, and I'm like, no, it's not about all of those differences. In fact, that's the thing that I think has changed so much for me, is focusing on what I share in common. It's the beginning of every deep and meaningful relationship. And if the first thing I can share is my passion for the teachings and the life of Christ, and that I have a desire to be in your corner, that's the kind of place and community, world community that I get excited about.
It's the all-new, updated In Prayer app, reminding you to pray at 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. 7 days a week. Prayer requests and stories, the daily devotional, all the latest videos, and social media integration through Facebook and Twitter, plus many more features. Now available free for iPhone, iPad, and Android.
Welcome back. For this month's feature from the Geoscience Research Institute, Timothy Standish shares the true essence of God's power.
When I'm up in the mountains, it's easy to be distracted by the sheer awesome beauty of what I see. But I also think about the immense power that was necessary to build these unbelievably huge structures. It's something that's completely outside of the human scale. And yet we know that compared to the power of our God and our Creator, the energy that was necessary to make these mountains was almost nothing. I don't know what you think about when you see beautiful mountains like these ones here in northern Italy. There's Romans 1:20, where we're told that the creation reveals God's power and Godhead. But I can't help but think of those mentions of God's holy mountain. There's Isaiah 11:9, where we're told that on God's holy mountain there'll be no more strife, no more war, no more suffering. That's the real power of God to bring peace and salvation to all of humanity.
For this week's Tech Corner, John Beckett shares the do's and don'ts for storing information on Dropbox.
Dropbox is now often used by people to keep their documents in sync across multiple computers and devices. It's also sometimes used as a way to back things up to the cloud. Other services like iCloud, SkyDrive, and Google Drive also offer cloud storage. This week, I read with great interest a lot of posts to an IT email list about such services. The challenge for the IT managers is that employees often install and use these services for convenience sake and put all sorts of things in them without considering the risks. So let's think for a minute about a couple of risks. The first is the possibility that a court or government might secretly gain access to your data by requesting it of the cloud storage provider. This might be unlikely, but in such a case, they could continually stay in sync with all your documents. Another risk is that a hacker may gain access to your cloud storage and either wipe it clean, take a copy of your documents, or just continually stay in sync with whatever you're storing there. I really like these services for some things like easily sharing presentations, pictures, and low sensitivity documents with my devices and friends. However, they're probably not the best place for things that you do not want to share widely. Other methods for storing and backing up data certainly have risks too. So I hope this brief discussion of the issue has helped remind you about the security issues of storing data. If you work for a church organization, you might want to have a chat with the IT person in your office.
For this month's Maranatha Report, see the results of volunteer efforts in the South American country of Ecuador and find out how you can support projects in the African country of Angola.
Gratitude is the heart of the gospel. Martin Luther defined it as the most basic Christian attitude. It's an attitude that was adopted in Ecuador, a country that is completely grateful for the invaluable contribution that Maranatha Volunteers International gave them with the construction of more than 219 churches and 11 schools in poor, under-resourced and difficult regions.
El impacto de Maranatha aquí en Ecuador, yo lo puedo definir así.
The impact of Maranatha here in Ecuador can be defined like this. It was a revolution that helped the members understand that in constructions such as this one, it is a place where they can strengthen and establish roots of their faith. And even more so, understand the major impact on the community, the impact on their spiritual life, and those of the members. No, the church in Ecuador will not be the same. The church family in Ecuador will not ever return to how it was.
From various parts of the country, more than 10,000 people, representing all the churches that benefited from this project, came together for two major events held in Quito and Guayaquil, the two largest cities of Ecuador.
Almost 50 years ago, Maranatha Volunteers International began with a dream: the mission to change the world through the construction of churches, schools, and hospitals. But this is the first time that a whole country reunites to say thank you. Thank you, not just with words, but with actions.
Music, skits, and a special visit from Pastor Alejandro Bullon were some of the best moments of this event, all crowned with an offering of gratitude from the entire Ecuadorian church. The money collected will go towards other construction projects that Maranatha will now carry out in the poorest regions of Africa, where churches are most needed. If you would like to know more about Maranatha's work in Africa, you can visit maranatha.org for more information.
To see the full video in Portuguese and Spanish, visit news.adventist.org.
Now let's turn to David Trim for a look at Adventist history. This week, the beginnings of the Midnight Cry evangelistic campaign.
Welcome to This Week in Adventist History. On July 21, 1844, Samuel Snow preached to a gathering of Millerites in Boston on Matthew 25:6, "Behold, the bridegroom cometh, go ye out to meet him." Miller had forecast that Christ would come in 1843 or 1844, but no specific date had been set. Snow now preached that the 10th day of the Jewish 7th month, the Jewish Day of Atonement, was the true ending date of the prophetic 2,300 years. Since October 22 in the modern calendar was the equivalent of the 10th day of the 7th month according to the old Karaite Jewish calendar, Snow proclaimed that October 22, 1844 was the date Christ would return. Virtually all Millerites accepted this, and since only 3 months remained, they began a period of feverish activity which became known, thanks to Snow's use of Matthew 25:6, as the Midnight Cry. Also on July 21, but 111 years later in 1955, Davis Memorial Hospital was opened in Georgetown, capital city of Guyana. Named in memory of O.E. Davis, a pioneer missionary to the indigenous people of what was then called British Guyana, who had died while working among them in 1911, today Davis Memorial Hospital is a 40-bed acute care hospital that cares for over 7,000 patients every year. July 24, 2013 saw the death of Vernon Paul Nye, a gifted Seventh-day Adventist watercolor artist whose illustrations graced many Adventist publications. That was This Week in Adventist History.
Thanks for watching ANN. Join us next week for more news from the world headquarters of the Seventh-day Adventist Church.
In the meantime, join our global conversation on Facebook and Twitter. You can connect with other Adventists worldwide and find links to more stories, photos, and videos. Visit Facebook/Adventist News or Twitter/Adventist Church.
Our good news for this week comes from Romans chapter 10, verses 9 and 10. The passage says, "If you openly declare that Jesus is Lord and believe in your heart that God raised him from the dead, you will be saved. For it is by believing in your heart that you are made right with God, and it is by openly declaring your faith that you are saved."
Amen. Well, that's our program for this week, and remember, you can always visit news.adventist.org for daily news and videos. Until next time, God bless.
Take care.